Well, hello, welcome to chapter 12. So this is largely about slavery. So that is what we're going to talk about. Oops, maybe. Let's see if we can get this to go. There we go. Okay, so this is a photograph of an African American family in the cotton fields. It's a slave-picking family, and you can see they look tired. Dirty clothing. Not well fed necessarily, so not the best. Okay, so let's see, 1776 to 1809, you have 115,000 Africans imported. After 1809, U.S. participation in the Atlantic slave trade ended. Not necessarily, that's not necessarily true. Basically, it was prohibited. That does not mean people did not participate in it. So illegal importation is going to continue through Spanish Florida until about 1819. That's when it becomes part of the United States. And then through the Mexican province of Texas, bringing about 50,000 slaves between 1810 and 1865. So although we didn't import in this country, that doesn't mean it didn't happen nearby and we were not able to benefit from it. So let's see. So in the Chesapeake region, so that's going to be like South Carolina, etc. Black population is going to grow naturally in the Chesapeake. Traders will begin selling their slaves to planters in the deep South. By 1860, I'm sorry, Chesapeake's in Virginia. Apologize for that. That was the wrong. Virginia, up a little further up north. By 1860, more than 440,000 slaves were traded from Virginia alone. Transfers and sales are going to take place. Slaves are going to be given to grown white children settling in the western slave territories, basically as gifts. By 1860, the majority of slaves lived in the deep South from Georgia to Texas. And the reason for that is where all the cotton plantations are. So slavery grew with the invention of the cotton gin. Let's see. Some Chesapeake planters are going to sell their plantations, move their slaves to the Southwest. Others are going to give slaves to children who moved west. Transfers accounted for 40% of African American migrants. 60% were sold south through traders. Chesapeake planters increased their wealth substantially through sales. Coastal trade in slaves from Atlantic coast to sugar plantations in Louisiana is highly visible and widely condemned by abolitionists. The inland system, less visible, so that means not in the ocean, so basically happening by carriage and train and whatnot. Well, later trains. Let's see, but traders marched slave purchases and coffles from Chesapeake to Alabama, Mississippi, and Missouri in the 1830s, and to Arkansas and Texas in the 1850s. So they are going to continue it. It will go on. The slave trade, it's just not the international slave trade, which is prohibited by law. All right, so domestic trade is going to reveal how vulnerable the slave population was as property. Whites emphasized slave status as property as key to slave discipline, threatening to sell them if they did not behave. So if you have children, you have friends, you have family, and you're misbehaving, and they will threaten to not necessarily sell you, but maybe sell your family members or your friends, kind of as punishment for your behavior. And that is one of the ways that they will keep slaves in line. Let's see, the interstate slave trade is going to focus on young adults. Approximately 1/4 of slave marriages were destroyed by trade. So they would sell you away from your partner. And it wasn't exactly legal to get married, because again, you are property. So, but I will tell you, women of age to give birth are going to become a lot more prized because of the drop in the international slave trade. This is how they'll grow the population. Let's see. Separated 1/3 of slave children under the age of 14 from their parents. So basically, you could be sold at any time. Your family members could be sold at any time, and therefore people kind of created community with who was around them and who was in the same condition they were in, not necessarily by blood ties. And you still find that in a lot of African American populations today, where you're related to everybody, but not really by blood. Okay. Let's see. Planters often viewed themselves as benevolent masters, caring for their family, including their slaves. They often argued they only sold those who were difficult. Few people questioned the morality of the trade. I'm sure a lot of people questioned it. I don't know if few is true. But do we have a lot of evidence of it? Not really. All right, so that is the end of the first section. I will see you back for part 2. All right, have a good afternoon, morning, or evening, or morning, afternoon, evening, I guess, if we want to go in order, or evening, morning, afternoon. All right, bye.